The new Necron rules suck, or at least that's what people are saying. Time to take a closer look at the 9th edition 40k 2020 Necron faction focus. It's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. And if you're new to the channel and you want to learn about Necrons and more, then please subscribe and hit the bell button to turn on all notifications so you don't miss an upload. First of all, I want to have a look at this picture which I found on Reddit, where someone's basically changed the new model's colour to the silver, which is how I plan to paint mine. Not the characters, mine will be gold, but the rest of the units will be silver, and it's very pleasing to see that they actually look really cool in the silver colours, so I'm super excited to get painting my miniatures. However, we are not here to look at those, we're here for the new rules. Okay, so today we're going to take a closer look at the Warhammer community posts about some of the new Necron rules, starting with the Indominus focus, the Kanata Reanimator. Looks like the cryptics have been working overtime. The past weekend was fortuitous for the dynastic overlords of the Necrons, bringing them lots of newly revealed units that we included in the incredible Indominus box set and beyond reviews. And of course I've covered those in my previous video, which I'll link up in the description below if you want to take a closer look at those miniatures. As any fan of Necron lore can tell you, or anyone who's played with or against them on the tabletop, you can't keep a good Necron down. Take out a Necron warrior and the chances are he'll be back on his mechanical feet in a week or so. However, sometimes an overlord in a hurry needs to give his troops a heads up, which is where the Kanata Reanimator comes in. Like many Kanata constructs, these repair units are created by the cryptics to keep the Tomb Worlds and their armies in tip-top shape. Whether they're taking a well-deserved rest or scourging the universe for any upstart civilizations who've moved in over the millennia, on the battlefield you'll find your Kanata Reanimators the perfect complement to your valuable troops, helping you nail those all-important reanimation protocol roles. Just imagine pairing some with the flanks of Lichguard. And then we get given a glimpse at one of the rules, Nano Scarab Reanimation Beam. In your command phase, you can select one friendly dynasty unit within 9 inches of this model. 9 inches, that's a nice bubble range. If you do, until the start of your next command phase, whilst that unit is within 9 inches of this model, add 1 to reanimation protocol rolls made for models in that unit. So this guy is basically going to add +1 to our RP rolls. Now in one of the live streams, the Warhammer community team indicated that reanimation protocol is basically being totally rewrit. We're going to have a new system, so it's very difficult to comment on how good this is going to be, but what I can say is having that 9-inch range is a great range to have. I mean, we're just not used to that in terms of reanimation protocol, and of course that's a bubble going all the way around him, so he's going to be able to cover quite a few models, and if you have 2 of these, well, that's going to give you some really good coverage. But of course, making them prime targets for your enemy. It's going to be interesting to see what other stats this Reanimator has and how well he can actually cope with enemy fire coming in. So let's just read the next section. As you'd expect for something with claws that big, the Kanata Reanimator is no slouch in combat. It's capable of skewering any unfortunate Space Marine that mistake your support units for a vulnerable spot in your line. Ranged attacks also allow you to deanimate foes as quickly as you reanimate friends. Okay, well that sounds very promising, that's for sure, and having that +1 to reanimation is also very promising. Now whether we can stack these bonuses, we don't know yet. My suspicion is we probably won't be able to stack these, so it will be just a +1. I mean, we'll have to wait for the main rulebook to come out or to get some more information on this, but I have a feeling they won't be stackable. And to be fair, if you look at RP in the past, well, the best really that you could get is usually a 4+, with the exception occasionally you had the ability to get a 3+, but not very easily. So I suspect we won't be able to stack these, but a 9-inch bubble +1 RP, I'm up for this one. And if he is good in close combat, and with the suggestion of Lichguard from Games Workshop, well, let's hope that Lichguard also gets some really good rules, because I'd love to see them on the table a little bit more as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the main Necron faction focus. So this is designed basically for people to read about them, maybe get some tidbits into how Necrons are going to work. But bear in mind, it's also aimed for people that maybe don't know anything about Necrons. So they start off by saying they're going to cover each faction. Obviously the Necrons are first, and this one is assisted by the expert playtester Werner Bourne. I'm not quite sure who he is, but he obviously apparently knows his stuff. Who are they? The Necrons are an ancient machine race whose alliance with the gods like Catan and mastery of hyper-advanced technology saw their civilization rule the stars. Yet after a bitter conflict with the Aldari, known as the War in Heaven, the Necron Empire was finally humbled. Now, after millennia of slumber, the time has come for the Necrons to rise up once more and reclaim that which was once theirs, even if doing so means exterminating all sentient life in the galaxy. How they play in the new edition. Now we'll hand you over to Overlord Werner Bourne, who helped put the Deadly Machine Warriors through their paces during development. As a hardened veteran of the tournament scene with his Necron Legion and Team USA coach for the ETC, it's fair to say he knows his stuff. He'll be giving us some insights as to how they play in the new edition and which units will help you in your cause for galactic domination. Okay, so once again, I've not heard of this guy, but apparently he is a Necron tournament player and he's a coach for Team USA for the ETC, so he must be pretty good, right? Okay, he says, "Hi everyone, I'm Werner from the Mourneville playtesting group. While I've played a variety of armies over the years, Necrons have long been my favourite for matched play. With some heavy reinforcements around the corner for our beloved machine empire, there's never been a better time to be a Necron player. Even before those reinforcements arrive though, there's a lot to be excited about for Necrons going into the new edition, so it's time to awaken those tombs." So obviously the reinforcements he's talking about there are the other images that we've seen of the monolith and potentially the big Catan and the Silent King. There's a lot more to come. So that's obviously an indication that those are all going to come in a different wave of miniatures, probably like a second wave, possibly even a third wave as well, which from my point of view is probably quite a good idea because it means I have more time to save up for all of these awesome models that are coming. And then we've got a picture here which is heavily featuring Lichguard. I wonder if Games Workshop are trying to tell us something. Lichguard there, we've got Praetorians there as well, and of course a whole host of other units, but Lichguard right at the front. Very interesting. One of the biggest improvements for the Necrons is they'll no longer be hurting for command points, CPs. Without allies or cheap minimalistic battalion detachments at their disposal, Necrons were traditionally one of the factions that had a rough time starting the game with lots of CPs. Of course that is true. However, in the new edition, they'll have more CPs to work with than ever, a significant boost that will put them on a level playing field to the other armies when it comes to the number of stratagems they can employ. And that is something which I am really liking because it's totally true. It's very difficult to get a good amount of CPs, and now, because of the way we build our armies for Necrons, I don't foresee us eating up our CPs in the building phase of the armies, which means we'll have more on the table, potentially more than other armies will have. And that's got to be great, especially if we get some new stratagems as well to really help us use up those CPs in an effective manner. Even beyond the changes to Battle-Forged army structure, there are a number of other key changes to the new edition that will affect Necrons for the better. Vehicles are already a mainstay of many Necron armies, but they're about to get even better, with all vehicles able to move and fire heavy weapons without penalties. You'll be able to pull off some powerful combinations. For example, getting within range to make the most of the devastating firepower of the Mefret dynasty has never been easier. Now that is interesting, and hopefully that's really going to help our Doomsday arcs. However, the Canoptic Doomstalker indication was if that unit moves, it has penalties to its big gun, so probably the Doomstalker isn't going to be a vehicle, it's probably going to be a walker. However, to be able to move and have no penalties on any vehicle is going to be very useful. It then shows us the dynastic code ability for the Mefret dynasty, Solar Pulse, which is exactly the same wording as in the current codex, so maybe all of the dynastic codes that we currently have will stay exactly the same. Now personally, I think the Mefret dynasty might go up in the ranks a little bit more in terms of being played on the table. I know a lot of people play Mefret, I've played it myself. However, I generally played Sotek, but I actually think that Mefret may be the new dynasty code which is going to be coming with the Silent King, may be the top two choices, but we'll have to wait to see for that. In the updated rules for aircraft in the new edition, Necron flyers will no longer fear having their movement blocked by units on the ground, and they will also be able to move back on the battlefield in a later turn should they leave combat airspace. So great, and I think we will see more flyers on the table in 9th edition, so it's going to be interesting to see how things develop. And then Werner continues saying, personally, I like to play a reactive game, and Necrons are well equipped for that strategy through their combination of deceptive speed and deep bag full of tricks. They pack the firepower to take down any threat as needed, but because many of the units have a 24-inch range, you have to carefully consider target priority. Sometimes you need to settle for a secondary choice and let the biggest threat in your opponent's army live for an extra turn so that you don't overcommit early. It's very interesting to hear him talk about how he likes to play the reactive game. In my experience over all of the time that I've been playing, generally it's better to be the active player rather than the reactive player. It gives you the edge on the table. So that is quite interesting to me. Obviously it's good to be able to react to the game and know your army inside out so you know exactly what to do when things go wrong, but generally it's better to be the active player. Key units. The Necrons are already blessed with a number of devastatingly powerful units, and they're set to receive some seriously brutal reinforcements in the near future too. Here are some great units to look out for in the new edition. And then we get a picture of the Deceiver. Interesting. Werner. Always a popular inclusion in the tournament scene, the Catan Shard of the Deceiver remains a great building block to include in your army due to its grand illusion ability. It's complementary to loads of different unit choices available for the Necrons, and trust me when I tell you it's even more valuable in the new missions. Okay, so that is quite interesting because A, is the Deceiver really that popular in tournament play? I suppose it has been at some points because it does have some good abilities, but in some ways it can be a one-trick pony. Possibly previously it has been the used unit, but I don't think it has been over the last probably 12 months. Obviously we've had the Doom 6 with the Doom Scythes and the Doomsday Arcs as our mainstay tournament lists. However, this guy's been playtesting 9th edition rules, and he seems to think that the Grand Illusion could be very useful. So I'm looking forward to finding out how 9th edition is changing so that we can make better use of Grand Illusion, which the rule is exactly the same as it's always been. So at the beginning of the game you can move D3 units 12 inches from your enemy, but you can't charge your first turn. However, you can shoot, and maybe that's something which 9th edition is going to benefit us from with Grand Illusion. This guy seems to think so, so we'll have to find out for ourselves. Now next is a picture of a Doom Scythe, so let's see what Werner says about Doom Scythes. In the absence of dedicated indirect fire units, the best way to literally get around line of sight blocking terrain is by making use of the myriad movement abilities that Necrons have at their disposal. The Doom Scythe in particular can use its speed and freedom of movement to get eyes on the valuable targets from across the table, then obliterate it with its Death Ray. What's more, as blast weapons, the Death Ray will be effective against large enemy units as well as enemy vehicles. You'll automatically get your maximum of 3 shots against units of 6 or more, which will be great for zapping Space Marines. So the Death Ray is basically exactly the same stats as it was, but now it gets the blast weapon, which means if you are shooting at units with 6 models or more, you get an automatic minimum amount of shots of 3, obviously potentially more. However, I think this new blast weapon is probably one of the biggest things, apart from maybe terrain, that could potentially shape how armies look in 9th edition, because I think most people are going to be taking units of 5, and from the Necron point of view I'm sure we'll see things like destroyers and wraiths, all of those units, especially the ones with multiple wounds, being used in units of 5 as opposed to 6. Because whilst it's not amazing for a Death Ray to be shooting at Space Marines, it really wants to be shooting at vehicles with that Strength 10 -4 AP. It won't really be shooting at Space Marines if it can help it. However, other guns, other blast weapons in 9th edition will probably be a lot more efficient at taking out troops with units of 6 or more. So I do think we're going to see more units of 5 on the table. Okay, so the big one, and I think this is where people are saying that the new Necron rules suck. So it's the warriors. So let's have a quick look at these. The mainstay of many Necron army lists are the humble warriors. Well, no, not really, certainly not in 8th edition. Like most units in the new edition, Necron warriors will be increasing in points, more specifically to 12 points per model. Okay, so not a major increase, but they're going up slightly. But they'll still comfortably outnumber Space Marines on the battlefield. So obviously Space Marines are more expensive, that's what they're trying to say there. Not only that, but you'll soon be able to equip your Necron warriors with the Gauss Reaper, which trades range for increased hitting power. Combine this deadly new weapon option with the Mefret dynastic code and you'll be cutting your enemy down in droves with devastating point-blank fire. Okay, so that sounds awesome. So let's have a look. The Gauss Reaper, range 14 inches. 14 inches? Rapid fire 1. Okay, now obviously we were all expecting this to be 18 inches assault 2, and it's 14 inches rapid fire 1. So only 2 shots at 7 inches. Strength 5, -2 AP, and a flat 1 damage. Now, even myself, when I first saw this, bitterly disappointing. However, this is a brand new Necron gun featured in the brand new Necron box set. They have to make this gun good because they'll want to sell these new Necron warriors to people that have a bunch of Necrons already. I mean, I've got 90 Necrons at the moment, and the Gauss Flayer cannot be better than the Gauss Reaper. It can't be, because they want to sell the new models, which means there's got to be more to this gun, or at least more to 9th edition than we currently know. So whilst when I read this I'm bitterly disappointed, I'm not going to have a knee-jerk reaction to this, because I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see what 9th edition offers, because we may have some extra stuff, stratagems that extend the range. We might have an ability to get that gun in really close. Maybe ghost arcs will be back. Open-topped transports that can move really fast, and we can get out of the vehicle and get within 7 inches. But 7 inches, it's very, very short. Now maybe this is why the Deceiver could be a key unit. You've got 20 warriors with Gauss Reapers. You use the Deceiver to move that unit, get within 12 inches. Now whilst you can't assault, you can still move in your movement phase. However, if movement is still only 5 inches, you're not going to be able to get within rapid fire range, but you'll still have that strength 5 -2 AP. If you take the Mefrit dynasty, -3 AP and a nice strength 5, so you could potentially do some damage, but you need to play these guys ultra aggressively. And of course you still need first turn, or at least you would do in 8th edition. However, things may be different in 9th. So I'm going to try to hold off saying that this gun sucks, even though at this moment in time, just seeing those rules there, it seems like it sucks, and I'm instantly thinking, well, I'm just going to take Gauss Flayers. But then I'm also thinking, well, if the stats are the same, 12 points per model, am I even going to play Warriors again? Maybe it's still Immortals which are going to be the troops' choice. So lots of questions, but before I pass judgment, I'm going to hold off and wait for more information to come, because this may not just be it. There may be more to come. However, what do you think? Let me know in the comments box below. Beam me up!